Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to our yearly tradition. With 2022 almost over, it's time to once again look at the future. And with this primarily being a Big Finish channel, that means we are going to look at some releases coming out in the new year. This is the top 10 most anticipated releases from Big Finish of 2023. Every year I do this, that title is still a handful, and I wish I could find a way to abbreviate it. Anyway, so, this is like my third or fourth year doing this, so I'm just going to go over the ground rules and then we'll get right to it. Once again, as always, everything is presented, in my opinion, as a top 10 list from the thing I'm least excited about to the thing I'm most excited about. You may feel different. That's great. Number two, everything presented here is just everything we have information on. So this is everything Big Finish has announced so far, and we know what's going to happen to a degree. There are some things that are going to happen later in the year that Big Finish hasn't released any details on. So, we know there's going to be a War Master set. We know there's going to be a Sixth Doctor set, etc., etc. It's just Big Finish has not released any details of any kind. So it's kind of hard to talk about things that, it's kind of hard to talk about things we don't know about. One final thing, too. I'm going to use the Ninth Doctor Adventures as an example because I have no 90As releases on this list. More often than in previous years I've done this, you are going to see Big Finish's generic placeholder image in place because while we've gotten a title drop and some information regarding the releases, a lot of these have not had cover reveals yet. So, I'll just be using the image that's in place. And knowing my luck, right after I publish this videos, a bunch of releases on this list will get cover reveals. Anyway, without further ado, let's just get started. I have no honorable mentions this year. This year was actually a really hard list to put together. I looked at the things that had been announced that got story details, cover reveals, etc., and very little appealed to me. This year it was kind of a challenge to actually compile a list together. So starting us off is number 10, Dark Season Legacy Rising. One thing I am going to repeat ad nauseum throughout this list is that I love a gimmick. I am a sucker for a gimmick or a stunt or anything like that when it comes to entertainment. It's actually a major weakness of mine that has led to many, many bad decisions, but nonetheless, I still fall for it every time. Dark Season is the continuation of a TV show of the same name created by Russell T Davies. In fact, it was the first show Russell T Davies ever made. Big Finish has done Dark Season stuff before. Last year they did a set of audiobooks. This year they will continue the story of Dark Season in this new full cast set. I am very unfamiliar with Dark Season. It's not something I'd ever heard of before, but I did manage to find it online, and I am watching it in the possible preparation I get this. And again, I kind of only really want this one for the gimmick. So along with being Russell T Davies' first show, Dark Season featured one of the first major on-screen roles by a young actress, you may have heard of her, named Kate Winslet. And Kate Winslet will be reprising her role for this Big Finish set. Sometimes Big Finish just makes these decisions that astound me. Like they had Michael Palin do a Torchwood audio. Haley Atwell was in a few of these. Benedict Cumberbatch was in one. But yeah, no. Kate Winslet doing Big Finish. Number 9. Doctor Who and the Ark. This is coming to us from the Lost Stories range. Oh shoot, now that I was trying to think about it, I just forgot what it was. I'm sorry, but anyway, this is the original draft of the story that became The Ark in Space. Big Finish is doing 2 of these this year. One is the original draft of The Ark in Space. The other is Genesis of the Daleks, which still, I've had it explained to me numerous times, makes no sense to me. So, like, with Genesis of the Daleks, episodes 1 and 2 I think, are going to be full cast because apparently in the original draft they were vastly different episodes. But the rest of that release is going to be an audiobook because it's pretty much just Genesis of the Daleks. Yeah, I don't think that one's going to do well. But the arc I am kind of excited for because from what I've seen and from people talking about it and what we've kind of known in sort of the fandom in general, because lost stories are kind of a thing we all talk about, is that the arc in space was originally going to be a much different story. In fact, the arc in space was going to be a 6-part serial, but Philip Hinchcliffe and Robert Holmes, who were the executive producer and the script editor at the time, basically both roles were sort of fused together in New Who to become the showrunner. Just for comparison, they split it up. So 4 episodes became the arc in space, and the other 2 became the Sontaran experiment. And apparently the original draft of this story was wild. Like, the aliens were giant heads. There was a scene where the 4th Doctor plays golf with one of them. So, yeah, I am kind of really interested to see what this story was like, because The Ark in Space is my favorite story of season 12. So, and just hearing how insane the original pitch for this story kind of was, I really want to see what they managed to pull off. Number 8, The 4th Doctor Adventures Series 12, New Frontiers. Again, a set with a gimmick. But it's a gimmick that honestly kind of took a long time to happen with the 4th Doctor, I feel. Because like Series 8, this series is giving the 4th Doctor a new companion, a woman named Margaret Hopewood, played by Nerys Hughes. I love the Big Finish companions. Some of them are some of my favorite companions in the series. Evelyn Smythe, Anne Kelso, Charlotte Pollard. So I really want to see what Margaret's going to be like. It's also kind of interesting because for the longest time, I felt like, as far as trying to expand gaps and put in new companions, I always felt like you couldn't really do that with the 4th Doctor. You know, there weren't that many exploitable gaps. Like, it's Sarah and Harry, and then it's Sarah, and then it's the Deadly Assassin, and then it's Leela, and then it's Leela and K9, and then it's K9 and Romana, and then it's Adric. So it's like, honestly, thinking about it now, to me, there's only one real exploitable gap you could do more 4th Doctor adventures and give him an original companion. And surprisingly, it's one that no one has tried yet. You know, like with Anne Kelso, it was, what was it? It was the Invasion of Time and the Ribos operation, because K9 was still there. But, like, the only gap I could think of to do more 4th Doctor stuff and give him an original companion is the Deadly Assassin and the Face of Evil. Anyway, so, depending on where this story takes place, because she's on the cover, so it's sometime during her run, Margaret travels with the Doctor while he's traveling with Leela. And given that Margaret is a museum curator, I can already kind of see what they're doing. You know, the whole opposites thing, Leela being this sort of untamed savage. Presumably Margaret's going to be very cultured. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And, you know, I'm just going to close out with how I kind of open this. I'm really just interested in this set for the new companion. Also, based on the cover, we're getting an Ice Warrior story, which I don't think the 4th Doctor has ever had. Number 7, The 1st Doctor Adventures, The Demon Song. There's nothing really specific about this set that stands out that makes me kind of hyped for it. It's more of a general thing. Like, I love Big Finish's 1st Doctor content. I think consistently it is regularly some of Big Finish's best. It's not always stuff I'm hyped for, but when I do finally get around to listen to it, I'm always impressed. This is another set with the 1st Doctor and Dodo, which is an era I'm glad we're finally kind of getting to explore, because I've only seen the Dodo stories on TV. Admittedly, she is my least favorite companion. well, she's my least favorite companion in Classic Who, and she's my second least favorite companion, followed only by Rose Tyler. And that was a bit of a tangent, but anyway, it's like, I'm glad we're kind of seeing this expansion, and hopefully Dodo being given the Big Finish redemption treatment, that the Sixth Doctor or Mel or the Eric Roberts Master got, just as an example. I've only heard one Dodo story prior to this, and that was The Secrets of Det Sen. I didn't hear the first Doctor set that came out last year, or this year, at the moment, I mean. I've heard mixed things about it. I might get it at some point, though. Anyway, where do I want to end on this? Also, this will be my first time experiencing Stephen Noonan as the Doctor. As the first Doctor, I mean. So, I saw that behind-the-scenes video. He looked like he had it in the bag. So, it'll be interesting to actually hear him in action. And actually, I'm going to close out by saying the only other thing that's really kind of excites me for this is the new cover. Editor me, I hope you remember to find examples and put them up in this part of the video. Anyway, because over the past year, Big Finish has done one of two styles for their cover. Sort of the movie poster, as I call it, where it's all the characters or actors playing new characters in costume, all sort of photoshopped and lined up together to look like a movie poster. Or it's this sort of watercolor painted style. Like, it feels like this last year, Big Finish repeatedly kept going to the same artists, and it feels like at some point the well kind of started running dry. Like, I remember so many people, like when the Upteeth 1 came out, I couldn't think of an example, they started really complaining about the styles of the covers. So yeah, just really also seeing we got a new artist and a new cover style. I don't know why, out of all the things, I'm excited for it in audio drama, it's the cover, but here we are. Also, you kind of picked up on it by now, because I put this off so long and my life has been so busy at the moment, I'm trying to zip through these as fast as possible. Number 6, Call Me Master. A new spin-off coming from Big Finish. Next year, I believe it'll have 2 releases. This is Big Finish's 4th spin-off starring the Master. We had the War Master starring Derek Jacobi. We have Missy starring Michelle Gomez. And we have Master starring Eric Roberts. Call Me Master will star Sacha Dhawan. I loved Dhawan in his 3 appearances across the Whittaker era. Spyfall was really good. Ascension of the Cybermen, The Timeless Children, not as good, but still loved his performance. And Power of the Doctor being my favorite from him. It'll also be exciting to see what new writers do with him, because in all 3 of his appearances on TV, he was written by Chris Chibnall. Don't take that as anything. I really like the Chibnall era, as if you've watched my videos, you know that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what new writers will do with the role. Like I said with Missy, one of the best things about that series is that we have writers who are not Stephen Moffat. And it sort of really revitalized her. And she jumped so high up in my ranking because of that. So I don't know what the premise of Call Me Master is going to be. The word on the street is that it's going to be set during the Master's sort of exile on Earth, during the events of Spyfall, during the events of the controversial scene, which that's all I'm going to say on the subject. But yeah, Dhawan is coming back. Dhawan has done Big Finish before, playing other characters. I can't wait to see what his Master is going to do. Number 5, Doctor Who, Once and Future. This is a set, or actually I think it's more of a series, I'll talk about that in a moment, consisting of 8 stories. I'm going to look at my notes because I did not memorize the names of the stories. So, this set has Past Lives, The Artist at the End of Time, A Genius for War, Two's Company, The Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50, Time Lord Immemorial, The Union, and Coda, The Final Act. So, Once and Future is going to be a mini-series consisting of one release a month for 8 months. This is going to be Big Finish's celebration of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary. And personally, I'm way more excited for this than I am for New Who's celebration of the 60th anniversary. So there's that, first of all. Also, we have a little bit of information on this. Some of it I think I'm going to get wrong. We don't have a lot, like we have no story details, but there's only 2 things we know that make this kind of exciting. So first off, this set stars every living Doctor. That means Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston. Yeah, there was that famous interview quote he said where he didn't want to do a multi-Doctor story. He came around. Like, honestly, Eccleston loves the fans, and I'm really appreciative of him. Like, he is amazing, and he is amazing to his fans. Anyway, and David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, not the 14th Doctor. Actually, now that I say this set features every living Doctor, there is one Doctor I don't think is in this. Spoilers for further down the list. Anyway, at the moment, as I said, this set stars every living Doctor. I haven't heard news. I don't know if any of the recasts are in this. That means William Russell, Peter Purvis, David Bradley, Stephen Noonan, Fraser Hines, Michael Troughton, Tim Treloar, or Jonathan Carley. Actually, scratch that. I think Jonathan Carley is in this. I'm not 100% certain, but I think he is in this. Anyway, before I get all wrapped up and tongue-tied more about casting news and rumors and things we may or may not know, other bit of news shared by Christopher Eccleston himself that kind of, makes this a bit of a melancholy release. I'm still excited for it, but there is one thing that I don't know how I'll handle it. This set will feature, according to Christopher Eccleston again, this set will feature the final performance of David Warner as the Unbound Doctor. It's very melancholy. I'm glad he was able to do one more performance, but at the same time, it's gonna just be really sad. I'm also really excited because that's been one of my wishes for a while, to see the Warner Doctor in a multi-Doctor story. Regardless, no matter what's going, like I said, celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who, I can't wait to see what we're gonna get. I am gonna end on... I just lost my train of thought on where I was going with that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna end on why this is number 5. I originally had it much higher up on my list, but as I was listing all the releases, it's like, oh, I'm excited for that one. Oh, I'm excited for that one. And it just kept getting pushed back. But keep in mind, I am still incredibly hyped for this. Number 4. The Third Doctor Adventures, The Return of Jo Jones. 2022 was kind of an experimental year for The Third Doctor. We had Kaleidoscope, which was set during season 7, so Liz Shaw, and it was done in the style of season 7. It was done as a Kaleidoscope. Oh, wow. Backtracking, because I'm not editing that out. So first we had The Annihilators, which was set during season 7 and featured Liz Shaw, and was done in the fashion of season 7, John Pertwee's first season. It was done as a 7-part serial. And then later in the year we had Kaleidoscope, also done as a 7-part serial, but this was set during season 11, so we had Sarah Jane Smith. And honestly, thinking on it, I really miss Jo. Like, the Third Doctor and Jo is my favorite part of the Pertwee era. And Tim Treloar and Katie Manning are simply amazing together. I think I've said this before in other videos, but if not, Tim Treloar doesn't just wonderfully recreate the Third Doctor. When he's playing off of Katie Manning as Jo Grant, they are recreating the bond and the chemistry that John Pertwee and Katie Manning had, and it's simply magical to listen to. So I'm excited that after last year, which were good stories, don't get me wrong, we are getting more of the Third Doctor and Joe. And not just that. Again, gimmick. We are getting Joe Jones. So in if you're not familiar, in the finale of season 10, The Green Death, Joe fell in love with activist and scientist Clifford Jones, and the story ended with them getting married, and it was Joe's companion departure story. So we don't have a lot of details, but the idea is that, the Doctor probably got in the TARDIS and traveled to the future and is meeting up with Joe after she's been married to Cliff. So again, just gimmick. I'm kind of excited to see what happens, especially after last time, which, was the Legacy of Time story, the death of Joe Grant. Again, we don't have much details, but I'm excited for the premise. The Doctor is meeting Joe in her future, and I'm just excited to hear Tim Treloar and Katie Manning back together again. Number 3, the audio novels, The Dead Star. So where do I want to begin with this one? I finally made my first foray into the audio novels range. I listened to Emancipation of the Daleks, the 12th Doctor one. Really good. And I've heard that the audio novels thus far have consistently been really good. I really need to get into listening to them. I really want to listen to Scourge of the Cybermen. But there is one reason in particular that this one is standing out to me. Aside from the fact that it's the second Doctor and features Michael Troughton, who, aside from being a really good second Doctor in Beyond War Games, I really just like the tone and cadence of his voice. I think it's perfectly suited for the audiobook format. But this one I'm excited for because of my friends. In my circle of Doctor Who nerds and in my friend group in that circle, several of them have read the books. Specifically, the Virgin New Adventures, the Virgin Missing Adventures, and a bunch of other book series that came out in the 90s that aren't discontinued. And there is one author that to them seems to stand out as the best of the best. And that is Kate Orman. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm not familiar with her work. I don't think she's written for any of the New Who books. But yeah, my friends hold Kate Orman on this pedestal as one of Doctor Who's best writers. So to see her writing for Big Finish, and not just that, writing for one of my favorite Doctors, like Troughton is top 3. Colin, Whittaker, Troughton. I'm really excited to finally be exposed to Kate Orman and finally see for myself what makes her so great. Number 2, the thing I was most excited for the longest time and thought it was going to be number 1, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Number 2, The Fugitive Doctor. Or is it being called The Fugitive Doctor Adventures in the same vein as the other stories starring the Doctors? Anyway, Jo Martin is getting her own series. God, I love Jo Martin in the Whittaker era. She was fantastic. She had such a small role, but the impression she left was lasting. I can't wait to see what she's going to do in her own series. And furthermore, the timeline of this series also just is brimming with possibilities. Like, this is Gallifrey, and this is Doctor Who in a time before the first Doctor. Like, what are the Fugitive Doctor? What's the Fugitive Doctor gonna be like before the first Doctor's character arc? What was the universe like when she was traveling? What is her relationship with her companions? And if I'm being honest, it's too early to tell, but there might be one other thing I'm excited for. Except for, again, just Jo Martin in general, who is utterly fantastic, and I cannot wait to hear her. But, Doctor Who has always played very fast and loose with its continuity. Like, the show regularly contradicts itself all the time. That being said, Big Finish usually adheres to continuity as best it can. It tries to respect and stick to the canon. Yes, even the parts that contradict themselves. What makes me really excited about that is just that because the premise is that the Fugitive Doctor is pre-Hartnell, there can be no returning monsters in this series just by the nature, because the Doctor encountered these monsters, often for the first time, in their travels after they left Gallifrey. Like, the Daleks was the first time the Doctor met the Daleks. And given what we saw in the Whittaker era, that one of the things that that happened to the Doctor is that the division would regularly erase and rewrite their memories. We can make an inference that the Cybermen, the Sontarans, etc., the Doctor didn't meet and know until their travels after leaving Gallifrey as the first Doctor. So, like, if what I'm theorizing is true, that there will be no fan service in the Fugitive Doctor. Of course, that's just a prediction that could be completely wrong because, again, Division regularly erased the Doctor's memory, and that could be used as an excuse. I hope not, but just Joe Martin is doing Big Finish. The Fugitive Doctor is finally getting her own series. Bring it on. Inject it right into my veins. And this one took me by surprise. Number 1. The thing I'm most excited for. Let me rephrase a little bit. The release from Big Finish for 2023 that I am most excited for. The Diary of River Song, Series 11, Friend of the Family. So I'm going to say it again. It comes up all the time in my videos. It could probably be a drinking game at this point. The Diary of River Song is my favorite Doctor Who spinoff. But it had kind of reached a point where it felt like I was listening to it out of obligation. Like, it reached a point where I felt the releases weren't as good as those early releases, which were phenomenal and still some of my favorites. Like, I feel like Series 7 was the start of the downward spiral. Series 8 was meh. I would probably call it one of the weakest sets in the range. But granted, there was behind-the-scenes reasons for that, but that's not important. Series 9 was actually really enjoyable. I really liked it. And then Series 10 was about half and half. I liked half of it. I liked 2 stories. There were 2 stories I didn't like. So it feels great to genuinely be excited about the Diary of River Song again. But why am I? Because this set is doing something that I absolutely love. That nearly every time Big Finish has done this, these kinds of releases have been absolute bangers. So instead of a series, like kind of a season of TV, instead of a series, let me start over. So instead of a season, so to speak, 4 episodes make up a season of the Diary of River Song, and they may or may not be connected. The Diary of River Song Series 11 will be one 4-part story. So yeah, this is doing what The Master of Callus did, or Unit Dominion, or Countermeasure Series 4. And like I said, when they drop the series/season format, because I'm American, in favor of just making it one 4-part story, the results every time are always spectacular. Like I said, those releases make up some of Big Finish's best. And the Diary of River Song is doing this. It's sort of this temporal murder mystery River is trapped in a house, and every time she tries to escape and solve the mystery of what's going on, she falls through time. So it's kind of I was going to say Agatha Christie with a time travel kind of twist to it, but that's the Unicorn and the Wasp. But yeah, no, just again, sucker for gimmicks. But this is a gimmick that has worked in the past, and I know how good it can be when this happens. So I just, I think I summed it up by making it number one. I absolutely cannot wait to see what's going to come of this. And those are the top 10 2023 releases from Big Finish that I'm most eagerly anticipating. What about you? Is there anything you're excited for? Did anything make your list that didn't make mine? Start a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. And in the description box below is the link to my Twitter, where for the time being you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.